Hello, I'm Kristen, and this is Kristen Cray's Books. Today I thought we'd talk about some of the books that made me laugh out loud. I'm actually taking a meme, Top 10 Tuesday, that is really popular in the blogging world and decided to bring it onto YouTube because I always love the topics that they have. I participate every week, and I thought it'd be a fun thing to do on here as well. Now, humor is very subjective in books, especially. So I don't tend to gravitate towards books that people think and say are funny because that humor might not work for me. It's very rare that I laugh when I'm reading. I'm more somebody who wants my books to make me cry. Give me a sad book over a funny one any day. But there are exceptions to that. This was easy for me to come up with a list of 10 because these are the books that I always recommend if people tell me they want a book that makes them laugh. So we'll just get right into it. And the first one is one I'm sure many of you have already read, and it is The Martian by Andy Weir. And this one really took me by surprise because I went into it not having read a lot of science fiction, not knowing what to expect. It was just really widely talked about. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a chance. I listened to the audiobook, and my God, Matt Watney is hilarious. I think his sense of humor, his sarcasm is what helped him survive and thrive on Mars. And it just made me laugh out loud at so many moments. And I don't think it translates as well in the movie, but the book is exceptional and surprisingly hilarious for a story about a man stuck on Mars. And the second one is The Humans by Matt Haig. I talk about Matt Haig all the time. His range is incredible. I love how deep his books can get, and this has some deep messages, but the overall vibe of this is so funny. It is about an alien coming to Earth, and he takes over human bodies, so nobody knows that he's an alien, and he's slowly realizing how strange the human world is, how we act, the things we do. I just think it's so insightful in that way, and it really makes you look at humanity and think, yeah, that is kind of ridiculous, the way we obsess about things, are insecure about some things, the things that we put importance on. Actually, I have a quote here that I think sums that up well, and it says, "This was, I would later realize, a planet of things wrapped inside things. Food inside wrappers, bodies inside clothes, contempt inside smiles, everything was hidden away." And I think that sums up humanity and what the message of this book is pretty well. And of course, there's a sweet dog in this that adds to the humor, so both surprising and hilarious. And then the next one on my list is one of the best audiobooks I've ever listened to, and that is Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. And I think these love to hate or fake dating romances lead well to humor, so you'll see another one of those on this list because the banter between the characters is what makes it so funny. There's some great one-liners in here, some great moments where you know that they're into each other, but they're not saying anything that lead to some awkwardness. And one of the characters is awkward in and of himself. So there's just some great chemistry and banter in here that's quite funny. This is the newest one to my shelves, and the one that I will be talking about all the time, but everybody else has been talking about it all the time, is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. And I really didn't realize how funny this was. It's sweet, it's a warm hug, everything people say it is. But the children in this, they are so hilarious, especially Lucy, who is the Antichrist. They come up with some hilarious lines in this. And the main character is a bit of a curmudgeon. He's a bit more independent, likes to be by himself. So him being thrown into this chaotic household with all these magical children who have huge personalities and great ways of looking at the world is just so hilarious. And there's so many memorable quotes from this. And this is a book that I will probably reread in the future and get more out of upon a reread and just appreciate all the more. And it's one that I will pick up when I need something to make me laugh and warm my heart. This is a go-to. Then we actually have another sci-fi series. I don't know what it is about sci-fi that lends itself well to some humor, but that is obviously the Murderbot series by Martha Wells. The first one being All Systems Red, and I've read up to the fourth one. The fifth one is a full-length novel, so I haven't gotten to that one yet because they're all novellas. And then the fifth one's a novel, but I'm excited to get more Murderbot in my life because who knew that an AI could be so relatable? It's a sentient robot that nobody realizes sentient, and all they want to do is watch TV. They hate humans, so they say. They hate emotions, so they say. But as the series goes on, you can see them opening up a little bit more, but not wanting to. They still have their guards up. They don't want to change, but they are, and it just leads to some really hilarious lines and cute moments. I actually have a quote from that one as well. It says, I liked imaginary people on entertainment feed way more than I liked real ones, but you can't have one without the other. And there's so many references to the TV shows that they watch, and it's just hilarious. Great series. One I always listen to an audiobook when I feel like a slump's coming on because I know Murderbot will get me out of it. And the next one is 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston, and this is actually a book set over Christmas time, but I don't think you need to read it around Christmas because it's not overly Christmassy, and it follows an Italian family, and I grew up, my dad's Italian, my grandparents came from Italy, so I understand some of that culture and some of the hilarity that comes from that. So her family is setting her up on 10 blind dates, so there's some funny dates in there, but it's how her family interacts with her that is just so relatable and hilarious. I love that family so much, one of my favorite families in fiction, and we're actually getting a sequel this year, so I cannot wait for that. This one here is actually the only nonfiction on my list, and that is Over the Top by Jonathan Van Ness, and I want to warn you going into this that there's actually a lot of triggers. It's not all funny, but you have to listen to this on audio because Jonathan Van Ness is just hilarious. But he's had quite a hard life, many ups and downs, and he does not shy away from that in here. But his signature sense of humor is throughout. There's a letter he wrote, I think, to Hillary Clinton when he was a kid. There's just so much that is hilarious in this. And if you love Queer Eye, if you love Jonathan Van Ness, you won't be disappointed by this one. You'll get the laughs that you get from the show in this as well. Next up is an audiobook I listened to as well, and it is Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman, and I don't really have to explain this one, I don't think. If Loki's involved, it's going to be funny. There's some great moments in here between Loki and Thor. It's a book that I would like to reread again, and I recommend an audio as well because Neil Gaiman narrates it, and it just, Loki will always be hilarious to me. I cannot wait for the miniseries following his character that comes out in Disney Plus, I think, in May. Just think everything about Loki is hysterical and exactly my sense of humor. And then we have the other romantic comedy on my list, and that is The Honeymooners by Christina Lauren. I've read a few Christina Laurens, but this one's my favorite because it's so hilarious. It starts off ridiculously, it's funny throughout, great banter. It's one of those books you read and you can see it perfectly being a rom-com that so many people would enjoy and would be laugh out loud funny. The book on this list is one I didn't think would work for me. I was nervous because it's so satirical. So many people said it's hilarious, but it actually is, and I highly recommend it. And it's My Lady Jane. And I think that's Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and somebody else. I'll leave a link in the comments. I'm sure many of you have read this before. But My Lady Jane is a reimagining, a retelling of Jane Grey. And it's so ridiculously out there. Somebody becomes a horse. Like, the humor is so ridiculous, but it just works. The way they've done this characterization and the way they gave Jane Grey a better story, a story that she deserves, is just so fantastic. Again, great on audio. I want to continue this series, but I have heard mixed things about the rest of them. But I know these authors have another book coming out. Is it My Calamity Mary? Or is that My Calamity Jane? Something following Mary. So they're doing, the first series was following famous Janes, and now this series is following famous Marys. And I'm curious to see how that one goes because I just love the concept, and they really nailed it with the first book. So I really should have some faith and continue on, but so hilarious. So that's it. Those are 10 books that made me laugh out loud. If you've read any of these or they're on your TBR, let me know. Or if you have any funny books that you think are satirical or have a lot of sarcasm or great banter, please leave them in the comments because I'm always looking for funny books to read when I need something like that, because there are definitely moments where I'm reading heavy book after heavy book that I need something a little bit more fun. So thanks again for your time, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.